Okay then, what with Easter falling in April this year and March last year, it's been awkward up to now to make exact year-on-year comparisons. But with the publication of the CSO data during the week, we can now sort that out. And our three experts to do that for us are Ruth Andrews, the CX of the Irish Tour Operators Association, Stephen McNally, President of the Irish Hotels Federation, and Noel Sweeney of Transport, Tourism and Consult International. So we'll start with you, Stephen. A pretty decent start to the year.
Yeah, we're very happy. I have to say, hoteliers around the country in the first 4 months of the year are very positive, and we're very positive about the summer. And I think I visit a lot of the branches around the country through the Federation, places like Donegal and Kerry. And I have to say they've seen a lift in the first 4 months this year, which is very positive. Yeah. The British market particularly is strong, and we're delighted with that. We've seen that in the cities. Been lots of events that have come on. I think there's no doubt as well from the stats we're seeing in the UK economy is performing a lot better itself, and we're seeing that out in the regions in the UK economy. I think as well, it mustn't be forgotten, the presidential visit has gone down very well. And people are still talking about it, and the British people were very delighted that we went over, and I think it's made a bit of an impact,
Sure. And Ruth, continental Europe moving along all right, but modest enough at 3% January to April.
It is, Eamon, but it will be modest this time of the year, obviously. I mean, if you look at ITOA members, business overall, traditionally only about 10 to 15% of our business is in the first quarter. So really we're looking now from, I suppose, the end of April through into September for our key growth. And people are optimistic, albeit that we possibly are going to be looking at single-digit growth where we've been experiencing double-digit growth over the last number of years.
Okay, but off a higher base.
Off a higher base, but we would still expect, and people are generally optimistic.
Okay. And Noel, North America, just 2% growth for the first 4 months, and actually down a little bit in the month of April itself. Any cause for concern?
No, I don't think so, Eamon. I think that it's early days yet. To put it in context, say we had massive growth from North America last year, particularly from the US market. We won market share of the US to Europe traffic. We had a fairly hefty increase in capacity last year. There's a 9% increase in the peak capacity this year. And I think the overall trend line is positive. Okay. So I wouldn't get too concerned about that.
Okay, that's encouraging. So all in all, a pretty positive start to the year. But again, I think that sometimes we obsess a bit too much really about a month's performance or about even a quarter's performance. No, I suppose what we should really be looking out for is the trends, and on a rolling 12-month basis. How are we looking there?
We're looking very positive. If we had been sitting here this time last year looking at the previous 12 months, overall we would be looking at a picture of no growth, basically, because the British market was down, the other two markets were up. And as we know, last year, most of the growth came in the latter part of the year, which certainly took off kind of from May, June onwards, particularly in the British market. The rolling 12 months, looking back now, it's about 8% growth. About 10% from Britain, which is kind of the highest positive we've had in probably about 5 or 6 years. And this could get us back probably somewhere around where we were about 4 years ago in the British market. Yeah. The American market, I think, will grow, and the overall trend line is about 10% growth. Yeah. And Europe, slightly slower, about 4%.
Okay, and staying with Europe, Ruth, of course, we probably shouldn't even be talking about Europe as Europe because there are so many individual big markets within that. How are some of the bigger individual markets looking?
Well, certainly, our two biggest markets being France and Germany, Eamon, and we're seeing significant growth already from the German market. France, not so, but I wouldn't get overly concerned. France will probably be a bit softer this year, and that's how it's currently shaping up. But then there are anomalies in there just in terms of French rugbies and things of that nature. That being said, the Wild Atlantic Way is certainly capturing the imagination of our continental European partners, and we're really getting terrific reaction to that. So we would generally foresee, and obviously our med markets are just waking up, so what Spain, Italy and those southern European markets are yet to do is really all to play for.
Terrific. And finally, Stephen, there was more good news during the week in a different report, a separate report from the CSO, the quarterly household survey, and that showed a very encouraging picture on jobs.
Well, it's very encouraging, Eamon, I have to say, and I suppose it continues the trend over the past couple of years. I still put it down to the old hobby horse of being competitive, and there's still tremendous deals to be got all over Ireland. And I think people are travelling, and most importantly then, as a result of the travel, is creating jobs. there's no doubt the impact of the VAT is still holding true, and as we've been at pains to tell people, the VAT has been a real driver in terms of growth of jobs in the country, and I think that's proven its point at this stage.
And the actual number we're about 14.
We're 14,000 ahead, yeah, and I think like there's even more potential for that, and I think if we can mind our PRSI charges and all the different costs that are in for employers, there's potential for that to grow even further. So
sure, that would make Enterprise Ireland and the IDA envious, really, of those sort of growth numbers and jobs.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say tourism growth in jobs has outperformed over the last probably 8 quarters, and that's been really positive for us. Excellent.
And finally, Noel, I suppose always good to have a look at how we're doing compared to our other competitors. Are we gaining market share, or is it just that travel is growing everywhere this year?
I think travel is on and up, particularly intra-European travel is very buoyant at the moment. If you look at the airline stats, intra-European travel is up about 7% year to date. If you look at the UK, their arrivals are up 10% in terms of holidaymakers for the first quarter. Total visitors are up about 7%. If you look at Spain, for the first 4 months, their traffic inbound is up 7%. So that puts it in some kind of a context, but as Clinton used to say, it's the economy stupid. If you look at the British market, we're up, whatever it is, 14% the first 4 months of the year, probably slightly ahead of what the airline stats are showing. But the British economy probably grew by 3% or 3% plus this year. Retail sales at the highest level in 10 years, jobless at the lowest level in 5 years. And if you look at sterling, it's probably about 7% more valuable than it was the peak summer last year compared to the euro. And as Steve said, say why we lost out so badly in the British market was the loss of competitiveness. Value has come back up again. That's the tracking studies, and now their sterling is stronger than it had been, and some people would say it probably gets stronger again.
Okay, well, so far so good. We'll chat again at the sometime in late July, I suppose, when we're at the halfway stage at the end of June, and that gives us a deeper picture. But lots of news there to be encouraged about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.